Political parties and INEC get set for Anambra governorship election, and I will be joined by the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Grand Alliance, APGA, Dr. Ejimofor Okpara. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Politics Tonight. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Every service, every opportunity and every platform in both the public and private sectors, represented by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, at the National Day of Identity celebrations. President Tinubu stressed that his administration remains fully committed to enforcing the mandatory regulation for the NIN. Sifon Essen reports. We'll take a break now and return for our conversation for tonight. Please stay with us, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. As the countdown begins to the 2025 Anambra governorship election, conversations around party strategies, candidates and... Dr. Okpara, can you hear me? Dr. Okpara, if you can hear me, let's start this conversation with some security situation, which definitely has been Professor Soludo's biggest nightmare. While the Nigerian army is still trying to confirm if Gentle the Yahoo was one of those killed earlier today, there was an operation. What do you make of that, and what do you consider as the significance of that operation? Dr. Okpara, are you there? Can you hear me? Dr. Okpara, can you hear me now?
I can hear you loud and clear.
While we try to fix that connectivity issue, let's bring you... Dr. Okpara, are you there? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you loud and clear. I can hear you.
I want us to start this conversation with some security issues, which I said had been Professor Soludo's biggest nightmare. And while the Nigerian army is still trying to confirm if Gentle the Yahoo was one of those killed earlier today, there was an operation. The Nigerian army bombarded his residence. He's been considered as the notorious commander of the IPOB. Ifeanyi is a quarantine. So there was a gun battle and very brave efforts by the Nigerian army. What do you make of that operation? Do you see this as a significant breakthrough in restoring peace and order in Anambra and the entire southeast?
Okay. Thank you very much. And once again, for context, I was saying earlier before we had the connectivity issues that security happens to be not just Governor Soludo's greatest nightmare, but it happens to be something that is the concern of everyone, from the federal government to every critical stakeholder in the southeast, across the region and beyond, even the north and across the country. So it's something that everyone is taking quite seriously and doing everything possible to ensure that we have maximum security of lives and property within the region and outside, and of every Nigerian indeed. Now, going to the question of the Gentle Yahoo of a person, it's a victory for the southeast. It's one step further into bringing back some sort of sanity to the region. For us, we believe that no one is above the law. When someone brazenly goes against the laws of the land, and to the point of even taking the life of others, and the person himself should go in for it. So it's kudos to the military authorities, kudos to our law enforcement agents, the DSS, and all who participated in this very historic, operation. I believe that peace will once again greet the people of Okigwe, and also to help our viewers or those who may not understand where Gentle the Yahoo was, like you said, killed.
Context.
It's in Imo State. It's in Okigwe in Imo State, not in Anambra State. So Gentle the Yahoo was all the while operating in Okigwe in Imo State. But today, we thank God, it's a victory for the region. It's a victory for peace. It's a victory for security. And we hope it can only get better. And this should also go as some kind of message to every other person who has constituted himself to, some sort of, or under whatever pretext or under whatever guise, where people go to the bush and terrorize their brothers and their sisters, kidnap people, kill, maim, steal, and all that. The Southeast is no longer safe for them. Anambra is no longer safe for them. And we believe that the pathway to progress and the pathway to development is peace. So everyone should embrace peace and ensure that the lives of other persons also matter, and work to support our security agencies. So for me, it's victory for the region.
All right, let's move away from that. But asking you to evaluate Governor Soludo's administration is like asking you to score yourself. But the truth is, many Anambra residents are evaluating the performance of the ABGA-led government. Is ABGA campaigning on continuity, or will there be a shift in messaging?
Okay, ABGA, if you've heard campaign bylines, we say Anambra is rising, Anambra is on the rise. Let the solution continue. This is for us not just this. It's not about sloganeering. It's about the evidential, the facts on the ground. The facts on the ground are enormous evidence, and they point to the fact that the people are very much excited with the 3 years and 6 months. That's about 42 months of Governor Charles Chukwuma Soludo in office. He is not just campaigning with the rhetoric of I want to do. He's campaigning on the strength of the tangible deliverables that he has brought about in the state across sector. It's almost tried for me to begin to repeat here that today in Anambra State, we have over 900 kilometers of road awarded, with over 600 kilometers asphalted, completed, and in public use. We have dualized over 174 kilometers of what you call federal roads, the trunk A roads in the state. Today in Anambra State, children go to school from nursery school to senior secondary free of charge. Pregnant women go for antenatal free and they deliver free, including cesarean session. Today in Anambra State, Anambra happens to be, the number 3 in the last budget data statistics with data released by budget for 2024. Anambra is number 3 across the country on fiscal sustainability, and also number 1 in the entire Southeast in terms of fiscal sustainability. We're talking about a government that has done all these and more without borrowing, a kobo. It has placed the state on the path of, fiscal prudence. We're talking about the prudent management of public resources. We're talking about a state that has broken the 34-year-old jinx of not having a befitting government house and governor's lodge. Today we have what we call a lighthouse. We're talking about Anambra State, where the governor has recruited 8,115 qualified teachers, from across about 16 states of the Federation. This is a state where the governor has empowered about 15,000 young persons under the program called 1 Youth 2 Skills. In the next few days, on the 29th, I think, of September, the second batch of the 1 Youth 2 Skills, second batch of 8,300 youths, that have been trained over, the last few months, will be empowered and they will be graduating. This is a government that has changed the urban scape of the state. Today in Anambra, we're talking about Okpoko, coming from being the largest urban slum in Southeast to what the people now call Okpoko New Heaven. We're talking about the regeneration of a hitherto refuse dump called Ochanja. It has become, there's now a fountain, a water fountain at the center of what used to be a refuse dump. The face of Oka has changed from being what people call the glorified village to a befitting state capital. You go down to a place like Ekulobia, you see the new face of urbanization springing rapidly, in that place. We're talking about the place where people popularly call the Japan of Africa, Newi, receiving in no small measure massive facelift, massive infrastructural transformation and development. This is a state where the governor met
Dr. Opara, let me come in here. What about education? Because, the government made a lot of promises. I mean, he claimed to prioritize education, including the employment of thousands of teachers. What's your evaluation of the impact? Has this really improved the quality of public education in the state?
Absolutely. I'm happy you helped to put that particular question in perspective, because what we are talking about in Anambra State is that if you come to Anambra, I've said it, times, for the umpteenth time on your program, that in Anambra State, there are about 3 or so dimensions of, schooling that exist here, of schools that exist here. we have the mission public, we have the mission, we have the private, and we have the public. Of this four spectrum I've mentioned to you, prior to Soludo's emergence as governor, the public was the least, and it was the least performing. It was almost non-existent. It was almost non-existent. You come there, you just find PTA teachers who are just paid stipends, unmotivated. You come, you see schools without teachers, schools with dilapidated infrastructure. But today, we're talking about a governor who came and faced that, what you may call a malady, head on. And today we have recruited 8,115 qualified teachers to end that era of schools without teachers. And I've not mentioned to you that 22 of these public schools are gaining massive upgrade. And that is what we're talking about when we talk about the introduction of what the governor calls the Smart School Initiative. So we are introducing tech in a way never before seen in the state into the pedagogy, into the education of our young people, because we believe that technology is the future. That's why if you come to Anambra today, we'll tell you our mantra is everything technology and technology everywhere. This thing boils down to everything we do, including our revenue collection sources. It has been largely digitized. Today in Anambra, people know that any revenue that is paid in cash is fraud.
All right.
The governor has said that for the
But you know, traders
it tells you that a lot. Yeah.
But traders and small business owners won't stop complaining about multiple taxes and harassment from revenue agents under this current government. Why has that persisted?
Okay. Now I'll go straight to saying this, and without mixing words, that at the very beginning of this administration, Governor Soludo made a very audacious pronouncement. As a matter of fact, in the first 3 to 4 months of his administration, all taxes were suspended. All taxes were suspended. And in reintroducing taxes, and after painstaking harmonization of the tax collection system, the governor graciously exempted those you may call the petty traders, barrow pushers, artisans, and everyone whose total capital was below 100,000 naira. They were exempted from the tax net. So anyone who is telling you that petty traders and co are complaining about the multiple taxation and all that, these are all political, unsubstantiated claims that people are, some political wannabes are dropping here and there. They do not reflect the facts on the ground. Now, maybe I could actually say this, and so that my viewers would also know. Jumoke, are you there?
I'm here. I can hear you.
Okay, good. So I'll need to say this because now in the build-up to the 2021 election, during the campaign, during the 2021 campaign season, the governor traversed basically every part of the state. Now, when he got to the commercial nerve center of the state, that is Onitsha, the traders were in almost unanimity, like almost a perfect unanimity, telling him that we only have one problem in this place. Please chase away touts for us. Stop touting in Onitsha. And I can tell you that if you come to Onitsha today, the story has changed. The governor introduced what he called the Anambra State Anti-Touting Squad that have gone on to chase out all forms of touts and all systems of touting. Because some of this issue of multiple taxation, they fester on the foundation of this touting, because people who are not commissioned by the state go all out under the pretext of different revenue collection windows and co. They go out, terrorizing traders, including people who have come to shop in the market. So the governor said, no, this is not good for business. And that is why today, Anambra ranks #1 in the entire southern states on the ease of doing business. So it tells you that something has given, it tells you that something has changed. So this is, these are not, like I said, we're not just throwing statistics or throwing data about or trying to tell you what does not exist. These things are factual and they are verifiable.
All right. And one thing I like about conversation is that we always get feedback. And when this feedback comes in, I'll definitely let you know. But let's talk about young people who constitutes about 65% of the population and over 80% of the active population. But it looks like it's been very hard turning the tide when it comes to youth unemployment. And I'm sure you know this is a serious issue. I remember that it was just in April, the government launched the second phase of the One Youth, Two Skills program, targeting the upskilling of 10,000 youths across the state. And when you say the promised digital and innovation hubs are not functioning as expected, what is it really happening?
Okay, now beyond the one you two skill, I'm happy you talked about innovation hubs and all that. And of course, let me just say this very quickly. Beyond the one you two skill, this is a government that has prioritized technology, that has prioritized the mainstreaming of technology across every facet of the state that you can actually think of. Now, for the first time, we have what we call the SID, the Solution Innovation Institute. Upon the creation of that institution or that agency, the first thing that was done was what we call the Tech Up Anambra. Anambra coming the program where the program that introduced much of tech skills to young people. And that first phase of the program mopped up over 20,000 young people and trained them across 4 major skills, major tech skills in the state. And there are testimonies and evidence that abound that much of those who have undergone that first phase of the program have, gained for themselves some kind of employment. Some have become even self-sufficient because they now have the skills, that the job market requires. And they have gone on to do the second phase of that. And as it were, where the SID is currently, they are the phase where there is an audacious target for them to, bequeath 1 million Anambra young people with various, tech skills. Today, that innovation district there is a hub coming up. Like I said, they call it the Solution Innovation District. There's a major hub, a major district coming up, where the governor is building about a 3 or 4 story, building that would become what we call the Anambra City, the African Silicon Valley. And what the idea behind this is to use like this, the hub and spoke approach. While we have the SID, in Oka, the state capital, there are other tech hubs, in their miniature forms across various parts of the states that are plugging into what the SID is doing. And just last week, I just came back from a program at Nnewi, called Tech Download. And at that Tech Download, I saw the mass of young persons in Nnewi who were pitching. There was a hackathon, and I saw this massive surge of young people who were pitching various fantastic, never before heard tech ideas. Now, I didn't mention to you that sometime last year, around November last year, or I think October last year, there was the Innovation Week that was conducted or that happened in Oka, the Anambra State capital, where the governor set aside over 100 million naira grant
and that's
for
where
various
I'm going,
SMEs and
Dr.
tech
Okpara,
startups.
that's where I'm going to, because yes, there are talents, and yes, government pumps money into these programs, and government will stop pumping money into these programs. But you and I know we know how this part of the world will struggle with policies, or rather we do not struggle with policies, but we struggle with implementation of such programs, even at the federal level. It's not a state thing. At the end of the day, politicians, these programs end up with politicians and their children or extended family members. And the big questions have always been, how many of these beneficiaries are still in business or gainfully employed? Was there any external audit or independent evaluation of the program's success? How are these funds being tracked or monitored? Do you have answers to these questions, Dr. Okpara?
Okay, now I'll tell you that there's a very effective M&E mechanism that is set in place within the framework of the SID. And the data that we have has shown that, yes, there is some level of appreciable success stories, because we have of the 20,000 that have so far undertaken these various trainings in various tech skill areas. Many of them are doing extremely well. And I can also tell you that what is very important with the Anambra case is that this is the first time that there is a consensus attempt by a government to activate the tech ecosystem. Over the years, it has been a private sector driven, kind of initiative. And oftentimes it looked like government was not paying attention to what was happening within the ecosystem. But ever since the emergence of the Soga administration, there has been a conscious investment by government, and it's happening for the first time. So much of what is happening today is maybe, if you like, at the experimental level. And I am very sure that by the time we are done, with this phase of actually deepening and awakening the consciousness, the tech consciousness of the people, and giving them the necessary resources for them to thrive, maybe we'll be able to get to you some very, heartwarming data. And I believe that before you know what is happening, the Silicon Valley that we envisage about Africa that will rise from Anambra will become something that will become a national news.
All right, quickly before I let you go, Dr. Okpara, is ABGA as a party putting pressure on Governor Soludo to do better in areas where the people feel neglected, or is the party simply defending him regardless of public criticism?
No, see, ABGA, I always tell anybody, is a purpose movement. And from the very, this is 22 years or more so of ABGA's existence as an enclave party in Anambra State. And the data is there. It will tell you that for every successive ABGA government, there has been a significant improvement in the lives of the people. And this is why the Anambra would always vote ABGA. It is not something that ABGA to an average Anambra person is not just a support for ideology alone. It is a support for tangible development. It is an evidence-driven support. So, as a party, we have our manifesto and we have our ideological, ideological bent. And every governor that comes on the platform of ABGA drives the manifesto of the party.
Sadly, we're out of time, but we still have about 2 months to that governorship election, and definitely we'll have another time to have more conversations. Thank you so much for speaking with us. Ejimofor Okpara is the National Publicity Secretary of the All Progressives Grand Alliance. Thank you so much for speaking with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Jumoke, for having me.
Thank you. And thank you very much for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics Tonight. But before we go, let's tell you that the views and reactions of our resource persons are theirs and have no connection with TVC News. Meanwhile, you can watch the repeat broadcast of this episode at 12:30 a.m. Get in touch with us on our social media handles, Facebook, Instagram, and X at TVC News NG and at Olajumoke using the hashtag Politics Tonight. We're also on YouTube at youtube.com/TVC News NG. I'm Olajumoke Olatunji. Good night, everyone.